Thank you, Dr. Bakshi. I'm thankful to you on two accounts. One is that you have showcased a very good model that we are also using in Sharda University. And the other being that I was not quite sure what this session was all about, because it says governance model. And therefore, last night when I was discussing with my friends, I was in two minds, whether it is governance of an educational institution or ICT governance. But since you have introduced the topic of content, I will take you on two accounts. One is the academic governance, and the other is administrative governance in a university setup, and how ICT technologies can, in fact, help us in governing institutions better. My biggest challenge when I took up an assignment in a private university was, I've always worked in the government system, and therefore I also had that bloated ego of that I must control everything. When I went into a private system, I found out that systems in almost all private universities are very unstructured. When I started discussing with people within the university system, I found out that it was not so with the mindset to change, but perhaps people in the private sector are not as driven and maybe not of that caliber who would like to change it. I'm coming out very openly on a public platform, but please do not misunderstand me. There are a lot of very good people in the private system, in the educational system, in the private sector. And slowly people are coming in because there is a flexibility which the private system enjoys. What it enjoys is that we don't have absolutely no hiccups of payment of salaries to any extent if the person is good. And the other thing is that we can provide various jumps to good people without waiting for that merit promotion or time-based promotional avenues. If a person is good, I can promote a 32-year-old person to be a professor of a university if he qualifies for the post of professor. But when we started with creation of content, and if some of you who were there in the last session, when I talked about integrating the face-to-face education with online education, we started this experiment on campus. And the biggest problem with me was changing the mindset of people. Because people who have been in the educational setup are still very comfortable with the chalk and talk model. And therefore, any effort, any amount of effort that we were trying to make in bridging that digital divide was getting a very stiff resistance. And therefore, what I did was that before the session started, we removed the blackboards from the classrooms. Overnight, I decided that we must take out the green boards, the white boards, the blackboards out of the classroom. Once I did that, half of the resistance was over. That now we are stuck with a mad person and we will have to join this bandwagon. Otherwise, we will be kicked out of this university. So mission accomplished. The second part was that I created a Center for Innovative Learning in the university. And I said that if you are not technology savvy, I have people who would translate whatever you are going to teach in the classroom, and they will simulate it for you. You sit down with them. There was a stiff resistance. The resistance was on two accounts. One was, there were few very smart guys who told my reasonably young faculty members that if you do that, tomorrow they are going to kick you out of the system. Because once you have created the content, and these people are going to use it in the university, what is your use? So they will kick you out of the system. The fear psychosis was created. But still, almost 80% of the people created content. And when the content was created, any student who had come out of the 10+2 system, who had never seen a bridging face-to-face with online, was reasonably enthusiastic to take that. And therefore, the assessment of my faculty members went up. There were few people who still said that I will create my own content. I do not want to use the services offered by you in the Center for Innovative Learning. We said, okay, fine. So they created PowerPoint presentations. PowerPoint presentations, after a reasonable period of time, became very jaded for their students. So they also jumped up later on in the semester and joined this initiative. But believe me, this was an exercise worth doing, because once this entire content was created, it was put on my LMS, and the students who I told you, at least 30% in every educational institutions do not attend more than 30% of the classes. And therefore, for those students, it was a boon in disguise, because they had missed certain things for which there was no notes, because the students in my classroom are sitting like you guys are, and they are listening to the teacher explain the fundamentals of a course. And later on, when he has everything available on his LMS, he can write notes in his own space. So it was a boon in disguise. So the system started working. Next year, what I did was that for the medical students, since it is all three-dimensional, it takes a lot of time, we took some content from abroad. And I found out that it is a complete no-no in an educational institution environment, because people who are going to teach that course must be involved in making that particular course. Unless it is diagnostic in nature. If you are teaching diagnostics, where you are trying to explain to the medical students that these are the types of diseases which are found in certain areas, which is not very common in India, and this is the kind of things that you will have to relate to, or you will have to recognize, then only it is acceptable. The other problem which happens with ICT-based governance model is, we took a company and we started implementing PeopleSoft. The biggest problem with us was that although PeopleSoft is a very versatile university management system, but the thing is, it's a white elephant. And unless and until you have the best of practices available with you, and if you have a very good implementation partner, you would not be able to do it with the user champions within the institution. Because people who are within the educational institution cannot foresee what is going to happen 20 years hence, what is going to happen 10 years hence. And this is one of the biggest problems in almost all educational institutions, because nobody knows how to govern. People who were 10 years ago either coal miners, or dealing with lotteries, or dealing with sweet industry, or dealing with liquor industry, somehow got into education. And when they got into education, the biggest thing was that get some good people to govern your institution. And that did not happen. because some of the best people started shirking private institutions away, that no, private institutions are like this, private institutions do not pay, private institutions do this. And this sense of deja vu was created where good people would not come to private institutions and everybody would expect private institutions to flourish. That is somehow slowly changing, because I see a lot of people who have their H1 getting expired in US are coming back to India, and they are the ones who are going to champion private universities system into the country. But all those people who are in ICT industry, so to speak, they have to understand that if you are bringing anything to an educational institution, you must be reasonably prepared to spoon feed people that what exactly is desired to be done for a good institution to govern itself. Because whenever you are going to base your systems on any educational institution in the private sector, it is bound to fail, because people in the education system still are not aware that how incrementally quality of academic governance can be improved over a period of time. Thank you very much.